Right off the bat, I want to establish that I think HILDRYN is already criminally underrated frame. She's one of the tankiest and strongest frames in the game, but for some reason she couldn't get her foot through the door to become popular. My best guess is the main reason for that is that she's not that easy to obtain. But now that HILDRYN Prime is here, I see a potential for her to get some proper audience. Why do I view her as so powerful? It's because she's fully self-sustainable. She has no energy but uses her shields instead, and her second ability converts nearby enemies' armor and shields into shields for HILDRYN. So you're not just severely debuffing enemies, you're fully recharging yourself with one click of a button. The other ability that makes her kit work is Haven, which charges shields of nearby allies at an insane rate and damages enemies. Her 1 and 4 are less important in my honest opinion, just because they are kinda situational. Her 1 is an exalted grenade launcher, which I always felt it's kinda like it hits hard, but it's not satisfying to use. So for me, that ability is where I put my Helminth on her. Her 4 is a full area lockdown with added damage on top of Haven. Situational because it costs a lot of shields, but it's super strong. But the only weapon you're allowed to use during her 4 is her exalted grenade launcher, so there's a value if you use it a lot. Regular HILDRYN is pretty OP. Gains we get with a Prime are not really much or even relevant at all, but they're there. There's a cool skin though. But either way, we have a case of a Prime being way easier to obtain than a regular frame, so this Prime is definitely worth getting before she gets vaulted. Her general gameplay dynamics are about keeping her third ability active and spamming her second ability, and that's about it. For me, I chose to replace her first ability with Sevagoth's Gloom for what's basically a free crowd control with the amount of energy she has. When it comes to building her, there are a few guidelines you can follow to try to make a build that fits you. I have 2 general builds that I use. One is more focused about sustaining those high shields and has less ability strength. We have high range of about 35 meters for Gloom and Haven, but Pillage doesn't get to strip much without much ability strength. This is more of a general purpose build, where Pillage is strong enough to sustain you, but not too strong to debuff enemies in a meaningful way. Since shields are energy, then redirection fits as well as prime vigor. Adaptation and shock absorbers are great because those are the only mods that scale the resistance of shields. But for a more purpose-made build, my general code is to push 200% ability strength for Pillage to reach 50% debuff. Because you need 400% to strip all the armor and shields, and making that kind of a build, while it's possible, it can definitely feel terrible because you sacrifice all the flexibility of your build. You can reach 200% in multiple ways. Sacrifice some efficiency with Blind Rage, or even use Arcane to stack with Number of Intensify and Transient Fortitude. But if you use Transient Fortitude, it should be noted that negative duration cripples Pillage. Because Pillage is kinda like Nova's Molecular Prime, where ability duration determines the effective range of an outgoing wave. Shards can be used to compensate for that 20-something% loss in duration, and same goes for ability strength, if your build happens to have 199% ability strength. Also, on the shard note, casting Speed Shard is useful because we spam Pillage quite a lot. One thing I'd recommend with any HILDRYN build is using any Robotic Companion for the Guardian mod that can instantly recharge your shields. It has a cooldown, but getting 4000 plus shields in an instant is useful, no matter how you look at it. You can run HILDRYN with less shields and abuse the living hell out of Shieldgate, but I do not find that particularly enjoyable. In my honest opinion, there isn't too much of a reason to run more than 200% ability strength on her, since we need to cast Pillage twice anyway, and that's your main source of power, both in a sense of recharging the battery, but also in a sense of effective impact on enemies. Whether single debuff is 50% or 90%, you still have to cast it twice for a full effect. And that's kinda the gist of it. HILDRYN is insanely strong, self-sustainable, great tank, good support, crowd control, even without Gloom. Haven deals significant damage when you remove all the protection with Pillage, so she works great in a lot of scenarios. Except Infested, we need Pillage Augment to gain shields versus infested enemies, but personally I prefer just not to play her versus Infestation, because her build is quite tight. Not the tightest out there, but she's a big girl and she needs a lot of mods. But she also has a lot of room to fit anything you like from Helminth's system because of her effectively infinite energy. She has a great balance of things that matter, and I'm still confused why her use percentages make it look like she's more of a niche frame. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.